All right, we're talking Demaryius Thomas, a guy that is been in relative, when you're talking about fantasy aspects, pretty solid. He's been a wide receiver 1 or 2 the majority of his career. Now, I understand for a major part of that, he did have one of the best quarterbacks in the league throwing him the ball, and Peyton
Brock
Manning.
Osweiler.
Exactly. But you're still seeing he had 128 targets last year. That's the same as Adam Thielen. And guess who threw the ball to Adam Thielen? Case Keenum, who now comes over from the Vikings. So I like the size and where Demaryius Thomas's game is evolving to. Yes, I understand he's getting older, but if you watch the tape, he's evolving his game. He's not so much the field stretcher he used to be. I think Emmanuel Sanders is becoming that guy, and Demaryius Thomas is becoming the more short and intermediate route runner. And you look at what he has done, 20% of his catches last year were contested catches, and yet he only dropped 2 of them. So he still has the ability to catch really good amount of balls. And then you're looking at his touchdown in the red zone, and he had that major touchdown upside. He had 8-10 zone targets last season, which was just 2 shy of our number 2 ranked wide receiver in Hopkins. So for me, I really do like Demaryius Thomas. Even though his age is getting up there, I think he's evolving his game enough to be a very fantasy relevant wide receiver for your squad. I know Travis has some concerns. Travis, why would you say that players should be more concerned with Demaryius Thomas than what he's shown over the length of his career?
Because I don't think that we can basically draft Thomas based on what he did prior to last year. I mean, yes, we'd like him to regress more back positively to where he was before, but if you look at last year, Johnny, I mean, you talked a little bit about his catch rate on contested catches. If we push that out and we talk about all his entire catch rate, the entire, basically all the routes that he's running, right? In the last 6 years, he had his worst catch rate of 59.3% last year. And his
would you say that's more conducive to his quarterback play or his skill?
Well, we know that Demaryius Thomas has had problems with drops. So we know that it's within his wheelhouse to have, buttery fingers, so to speak. He also had his worst yards per catch with 11.4. Now, that stat, I think, could have a lot more to do with the quarterback play, the fact that Denver was basically trotting out a clown car last year. But I think that, you look at before last year, we talked about a little bit, he had not gained 1,000 yards. He had not gained 1,000 yards since 2011. So I think that, a little bit of that is the Peyton Manning factor. A little bit of that is his skill. But for me, I just think about the ADP for both of these guys, Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. And Emmanuel Sanders is coming up as the big value here and plays a little bit more into Keenum's style. You talked about how they have been moving Demaryius Thomas a little bit to the inside. I honestly think that was because of the injury concerns from Sanders last year and not so much them trying to adapt the game, because Demaryius Thomas still has the big stature that benefits them in the red zone and stretching the field against bigger corners or larger corners. But like for Sanders, he plays more into Keenum's style of the intermediate, the slot receiver role. I think between the line issues that Denver had last year, Case Keenum being there, and Demaryius Thomas's logged drop issues, there is some risk here. And I would just be a little bit cautious when drafting Demaryius Thomas.